Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Sunday, March 12th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Indiana game is in 174 days. The game against Michigan in 258 days. The Ohio State men's basketball season is over, probably. The Buckeyes fell to Purdue 80-66 into the Big Ten tournament semifinals on Saturday. We were going to do a recap show on that game, but if you go back and listen to the show we did yesterday with Tony Gerderman, we kind of told you what was going to happen. Ohio State was going to look a little bit tired in the fourth straight day playing. Purdue was going to be smart enough to recognize that without Zed Key, they should just go right after Felix Okpara with Zach Edey, get him in early foul trouble, then get Eugene Brown in foul trouble, and then let Zach Edey kind of run wild, and that was more or less what happened. Okpara got 2 fouls early. Eugene Brown had 3 fouls the first half. Okpara fouled out after only 22 minutes of action. Brown had 4 fouls in just 11 minutes. And Zach Edey scored 32 points and had 14 rebounds. So we've kind of already talked about this game, even though we did it in advance. So instead of talking about looking backwards at basketball, we're going to talk a little bit about moving forwards with basketball, what could be next for Ohio State in the basketball field. And then we're going to talk a little football, and we're going to do that in a little bit of a different way today as well. So let's first just brush up on that basketball real quick. Gene Smith, Ohio State athletic director, told the Columbus Dispatch this week, quote, "The NIT should consider us." Buckeyes, of course, with a losing record. They are 16-19. And I can hear you saying, but don't you have to have a winning record to play in the NIT? And the answer is no, not anymore, but. And the NIT used to have that rule. They got rid of it in 2017. No one has actually ever played in the NIT with a losing record since that went away. Texas and Butler both got there with a 16-16 record back in 2019. No one has played in the NIT with a losing record since that rule went away in 2017. It could theoretically happen. We'll see. That'll be a late selection Sunday night decision for the folks that run the NIT. So we'll see if the Ohio State men's basketball season is over or not. If it is, that was a heck of a run. Tip of the cap to Chris Holtmann and the young Buckeyes, who made a very impressive run through 3 games in the Big Ten tournament before finally falling to Purdue on Saturday. All right, so that's enough basketball. We're going to do something a little different today with the football side of things. And this is a show that Justin Whitlatch, who's one of our X's and O's guys at Buckeye Huddle, he put this together sort of in response to a conversation that Tony Gerderman and I had on the Buckeye Weekly podcast. So we're just going to play this for you here. It was more or less a morning show length show anyway. So I looked at it and I thought, oh, this is pretty good. And then thought, oh, this is pretty much morning show length already. So we're just going to play this for you here and let you get a little bit of Justin Whitlatch, get a little sense of how our X's and O's guys sort of break things down, give you a little bit more insight and analysis on how they think things might play out this year with the running backs. So just a little heads up, he is at various points here going to maybe get on the whiteboard a little bit. There's maybe a couple like short video clips in here. So this is one that if you're listening as a podcast, you may want to find this post on the front page of BuckeyeHuddle.com and just click on the YouTube video there and watch this as a YouTube video instead of as an audio podcast. You'll still more or less get it. But if you want to see him sort of laying some things out with some visual supplements to just sort of make sure you're understanding what he's talking about, you can always watch the YouTube video. So just a little suggestion there. But without further ado, here is Justin Whitlatch of BuckeyeHuddle.com talking a little bit about the running backs.
Hey guys, this is Justin Whitlatch with Buckeye Huddle. So today I want to go over kind of what my channel is, what it's going to look like, how it relates to Buckeye Huddle. So the plan is for Ross, Devin, and I, and a couple others with Buckeye Huddle and whoever all does the L22 will, in the off season, do videos and kind of explain things based on need. So obviously we're going to go over the spring game. Like today, I'm going to go over like the depth in the running back room and how Ohio State can utilize it. But we're just going to do it based on need. So in season, our plan is to obviously go over the game on Saturday. We'll go over key moments in the game and be able to draw some stuff up just to show you guys why it was such a key moment. If that makes sense. So that's kind of the plan moving forward. And today I wanted to go over, so Tony and Tom did a podcast on the depth in the running back room this year. So obviously everybody knows last year that's where Ohio State lacked is having depth at that position. So obviously going into 2023, they've got a loaded room. So when you think of those backs, you think of obviously Henderson, okay, Williams, Pryor, Hayden, Chip. Okay, there's a lot of touches to go around. In college football today, to keep guys in your program, you've got to tease them. And how do you tease some of these guys is obviously getting them the ball. So I want to go over some ways as to how Ohio State can get two of those guys on the field at the same time and tease a lot of them with playing time, tease them with getting some touches, because obviously the receiver room is just as loaded and those guys need touches as well. So in my mind, I'm thinking of going with a 20 personnel, like a package, if you will, as to getting two of these guys on the field at the same time, and you're kind of appeasing the crowd. You still have three receivers on the field. So when you go to a given year, you think of the depth that you're going to have at each position, which is a given, their skill sets and what they're going to be able to do. First, they've got to figure out what's their quarterback going to be able to do next year. And I think they're figuring that out now. They'll figure that out in fall camp, and it's going to take them 3 or 4 weeks in season to really figure out what they have. And to help those guys gain confidence, I think you've got to give some of those guys RPOs, obviously the quick game, a little bit of 3 and 5 step, but you got to keep things simple. And I think having some personnel sets I shouldn't say personnel sets, having some simple packages like that, like what I'm going to go over today, will help the quarterback position. And obviously Ryan Day does a great job of calling the O. Okay, Heartland's is going to do just as good. I don't know as much as those guys, not even close. Those guys get paid the big bucks for a reason, but this would be my simple suggestion going into next year. So when you think of 20 personnel, obviously that's 2 backs with 0 tight ends, okay, and 3 receivers. So you want to think of your 3 best receivers on the field. So hold on, I'm going to go use a template. There we go. Okay, let me go. So yes, I'm going with PowerPoint. Oh well, who cares? I know it's old. I don't care. So when we think of 20 personnel, so again, 2 backs here, you've got 3 receivers, and these 3 receivers are interchangeable. Okay, I think Ohio State and Day, they do a really good job of changing these guys up from week to week, and being able to get them ball at different spots, and that's really good. But they're able to move all 3 of these spots in 20 personnel. So obviously, like at X, you could have Marvin Harrison, you got Abuka in the slot, and then you got Fleming out wide. You can rotate it. You can have Marvin Harrison out at the Z. It all depends on who they're playing that week, what type of defensive structure they're going to see, what type of one-on-one opportunities they're going to get as well. And that goes with saying you could also be in 21. So it'll look like 20, but you'll have Stover here at the slot instead of whoever it is that for that week. So let's say Ohio State thinks they have a mismatch on the nickel, or they say him linebacker or a walk down safety, whatever. But you get my point. These 3 guys can be anybody. Okay. Now, in terms of backs, so in my eyes, the first 2 backs that will probably be thrown out in a package like this is Williams and Henderson. Okay, Henderson. We'll think about skill set. What are these guys really good at? Okay, so in my eyes, Williams is more in between the tackles. He's really good after contact. He's really good at finding the dirty yards. So that's not a guy I really want to put out in space. That's a guy I want to hand the ball off to. So in this situation, he's going to be running your zone runs because Ohio State hasn't really been a gap team. I think you're going to see inside zone, mid zone, outside zone like you always have. That's never going to change with Day. So that's going to be your back. Now, what do you do with the other back when you're running some of that run game to him? So you can flare him out wide here. You can put him in motion and run a lot of RPO stuff over here. And I'm going to use a scribble here just to kind of give you guys a picture. So again, 20 personnel. So here is, in my eyes, Williams. So he's going to say we're running tight zone. Okay, we're running tight zone with Williams. Okay, so what's Henderson going to do in this situation? So he can be your RPO guy. So he's going to be behind the quarterback and run a flare, bubble, whatever you want to call it. But it gives you this guy in space, so it gets Henderson out in space, like we've talked about. He's going to be a good third down scat back in the league. I think he's really good in space. You got to get the ball to him in space. That's where he's good at. Okay, he's not as good in between the tackles. I think we saw last year where he struggled being able to read a lot of the mid zone, outside zone stuff, being able to read the 3 and 5 technique like you should. That's where he struggled last year. Why do something that he struggles at? They shouldn't. I think he's a guy that you get him in space, you get him in one-on-one matchups in the passing game, and you let him go. There's no reason to put him in situations where he's going to struggle. So in my eyes, you're going to, and in this situation, you can read an outside, or you can read a 5 technique here, or you can read an outside linebacker, or whatever you want, whoever you want to read that week in terms of the defensive structure. Like if they're in a 4 down and they're keeping a 2-high structure, okay, you're more than likely going to read the end here. Okay, so if he's going to crash, okay, and we're reading him off of tight zone. If he's going to crash, we're pulling and throwing to Henderson one-on-one space with a safety. Okay, makes sense. Okay, obviously you've got Fleming out here. He's going to have the corner. Okay, you can put this guy in motion. So you can put him in motion here. Okay, and we're running the same thing. So let's say we're running tight zone. Okay, we're reading, let's say we're in a 4 down front. We've got a 2-high structure. We're reading the end again. If he crashes, we're pulling and throwing to one-on-one space. Okay, if he's gonna slow play it, okay, then you've got your best back in between the tackles, Williams, getting those harder and extra yards. So, and I'm going to show you a lot of clips of where I found some of this stuff. Like this isn't anything new. No, I didn't invent this. This isn't like, wow, this is a new scheme that Ohio State should run. If you think back to 20 personnel, split back sets, wow. I think of Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley does a really good job of using split back sets. If you think back to when they played Ohio State in the shoe with Baker Mayfield, they ran a lot of split back stuff that I'm going to show you that really hurt Ohio State's 4 down structure. And that goes without saying, too, you're able to do a lot of stuff out here with these guys. So if we're running tight zone here in the box, you can run like a lot of teams do nowadays. You can run hold on a second. So what they call numbers RPO. So if you like the numbers pre-snap, if they're in a 2-high structure and they're not going to roll down, okay, and you've got, let's say you've got a Sam or a nickel kind of tucked into the box. Okay, you just have the corner out there, and then you have a safety up top. Okay, you have a 2-on-1, you get the ball out to your best slot. You can also run the quick game numbers to your outside guy. That gets the ball to Marvin Harrison. So it doesn't matter who these guys are. It's just how are you going to scheme it up that week? There's a lot of different answers that you can do here in the run game and the RPO game, and it's going to help this guy out. He's going to be new next year. So it gives some answers like pre-snap. Here's a good pre-snap answer that you see here to Twins. Okay, you've got an RPO answer away. So it keeps guys out of the box as well for Williams. So I think it benefits everybody in the program if you have a lot of these answers. I think that's kind of where Day has struggled in the past too in the run game is they don't have a lot of pre or post-snap answers to beat the defensive structure that they're seeing in college football today. Okay, what you see pre-snap really doesn't really mean you're going to get that post-snap. So if you have answers pre and post, you have a lot of different ways to beat the defensive structure. And and the same thing goes out wide here. So let's say you have a corner, you're in a Meg technique, which is man everywhere they go. Okay, so you've got a 1-on-1. Let's say he's playing inside technique and it's a bump and run. You have Marvin Harrison out here. Okay, you've got to have an answer to throw a mandatory outside release fade 1-on-1 ball within the first 5 yards. Okay, that's got to be an answer. They're playing, let's say the corner's playing outside technique. Okay, you've got to have an answer, and if there's not an outside backer or a weak safety down in the box, okay, and you're able to throw a quick slant, you have that answer pre-snap. So giving this guy answers, I think it is going to benefit them in the long run next year. And then there's many different ways to skin a cat. Like you can run a lot of gap scheme off of this as well. Okay, what Oklahoma does is they'll run a lot of what's called tag, tackle, and guard counter. So you're pulling both of these guys here. You're reading an end. Okay, he's flaring and you're reading the end. If he's crashing on counter, then we're pulling it out here. Because there's a lot of different things. I think another one that Oklahoma ran in zone, which Ohio State can do because they're a zone team. Same thing here. So they're running tight zone, which we're going to watch the film of later. I don't know where that went. So we're running tight zone. And then we're running some type of arrow route here. Where are those going? So again, you're running some type of arrow here where it looks like a huge mess in the backfield, but it's the same thing. Okay, you're reading a 5 technique and a 4 down front. Okay, if he's crashing, we're pulling and throwing to the air here. It almost looks like a play action. So there's a lot of different things you could do in this personnel set. And I think to appease the crowd in the running back room, I think this is really someone they got to go. Like Pryor, I think Pryor is really good in between the tackles, but he's also good in space. He's a guy that could potentially play both. Like Chip, I think he's a good tackle-to-tackle guy where you run a lot of your zone stuff with. So there's a lot of different, like Hayden showed a lot of flashes of being able to really read mid and outside zone. So there's a lot of different answers here to be had. So that's kind of that's showing you the drawings. Obviously, there's no defense. Okay, don't want to draw that. I just want to make a point to this is what they're going to be able to do in this package per se. So when we're talking about looking at some of the film, okay, add that to the stream. So again, here's your 20 personnel set. So Oklahoma had a tight end here, so they're actually in 21. Okay, you've got a, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-man box. You've got a safety down that probably eyes in the box. So you've got a 7-man box with 2 backs. Okay, again, you're able to play numbers out here with RPO pre-snap. You got a one-on-one matchup like I talked about of being able to audible and adjust it right then and there. Okay, there's a lot of answers. But for the quarterbacks next year, this is just a simple thing that they can do. So here, 5 technique crashes. Okay, so that gives Baker Mayfield the pull read, and we're thrown to a guy in space. So that, and when you think about it, that's going to be Henderson in space. That'd be Williams in the box. Okay, it makes sense. Just trying to make a point. So here's what I talked about, being able to fast motion these guys out of the box, and you get box players with their eyes, okay, out of the run fit. So what they're doing is they're going to motion. They're going to read, I think, the same guy, the 5 technique. They're going to run inside zone. Actually, there's some gap scheme. So counter, like I talked about as well. So here they're guard tackle counter. Okay, they're reading the 5 technique for a give pull. So he's crashing, so we should be pulling and throwing this sucker out. Yep. So again, that's Henderson right there in space, being able to have the ball in his hands. That's huge. And the last thing that Oklahoma really hurt Ohio State with here is getting the backs out of the backfield in the passing game. And again, take advantage of what Henderson can do really well. Get him the ball in space, get him the ball in the passing game. I think he's going to be a huge mismatch this year, especially in the passing game. So here they're just run play action. They're running the back up the seam. Okay, you've got backers in the box really playing the run. Okay, so again, that's just an example. I don't want to go in depth to what that passing concept is, but I think you guys kind of get the picture of where I'm trying to go with this. So make sure you like and subscribe to Buckeye Huddle. Make sure you are reading the articles and the content that they're putting out weekly, because they do a fantastic job. And yeah, see you later. Have a good one.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that one. Again, a little different from the normal show that we do here, but it's, we're in a little bit of an off-season kind of time here. Yeah, spring ball's going on, but the Buckeyes are on spring break this week, so figured to just try something a little different there. Let us know in the comments if this is something that you like, you want to see more of this, hear more of this, or maybe this isn't your thing, and that's okay too. Let us know. Again, we are here to do what you guys want us to do. We're here to give you the shows you guys want to watch, you guys want to listen to, so if this is something you guys enjoy, let us know, and we'll give you more of it, because we have a fantastic team of X's and O's guys at Buckeye Huddle. We got Justin Whitlatch, we got Mickey Pettit, we got Devin Radcliffe, we got Ross Fulton. Those are just our X's and O's kind of scheme guys who are there to make you a smarter football fan. We've got Mark Givler, we've got Alex Gleitman covering the recruiting, we've got Kevin Noon, Tony Gerdeman, and I covering the team. Fantastic 360-degree coverage of Ohio State football, all at BuckeyeHuddle.com. You can get a lot more, take a much deeper dive on the team, the recruiting, the scheme, all of that stuff by signing up to become a member today. It is the price of a lousy chain store pizza every month, so put the pizza to the side, sign up, make yourself a smarter football fan at BuckeyeHuddle.com. That will do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.